Alright y'all, what's poppin'? It's your boy JP. I got another one for y'all today. We're gonna be tapping in with serial killer pleads insanity but doesn't know teen victim survived. This is the case of Holly K. Dunn. We're gonna jump right in and make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If you're new, let me know your thoughts in the comments about this whole situation. And yeah, let's check it out. One.
I stopped her, just like a pig, because this country is like the mother of all countries, and what happens in the US can change the entire world.
So how do you want to change it? With death? With blood?
Yes, this is the only way out. They want to see blood, and I give them blood.
Is he Spanish?
This is the railroad killer. He evaded the death penalty for years by pleading to be legally insane. And since his arrest, nobody has been able to prove him wrong.
There is something wrong with him, but does it make him any less morally responsible?
The FBI was convinced that out of his 23...
Yo, my thing is, with like all these serial killers and things, I wonder if it's something happened to them when they was young, that they was just triggered to go on this crazy rampage of just be killing people, whatever. And there's, you know, a lot of them would be like women that they like to kill. Like, I wonder what the hell happened in their life, or are they born like that? Do y'all believe that people is just born like that, and then at a certain age, you know, it just comes out? Or you think something traumatic happened to them, you know, when they was young, that just triggered them, you know, to go crazy?
Victims, none survived. Until one did.
I'm Holly, and I'm the only known survivor of the railroad serial killer.
Railroad serial killer.
Assaulted, beaten, stabbed, and left for dead. 20-year-old Holly K. Dunn came face to face with the infamous railroad killer.
It was a horror show. Heads beaten to a pulp, just horrific violence.
But instead of succumbing to her injuries, she became the sole survivor out of his 23 alleged victims. The only one able
That's a
to
lot of
stop
people.
him.
From his perspective, she basically came back from the grave to nail him.
Holly was fresh out of her parents' house in Indiana, as she had just left for college with her boyfriend.
Kentucky.
In late
Shout out
August
Kentucky.
1997, I was a student at the University of Kentucky. It was about the second night of classes. It was a Thursday night, and I went to a party with my boyfriend, Chris Meyer, not far from campus.
Later that night, the two decided to leave to take a walk beside the railroad tracks. It is at this point that they came face to face with a shadowy figure.
It was very dark, and you couldn't see very well, so it was very startling to see someone come out that was crouched behind an electrical box.
The man gave them a menacing look, pulled out a weapon, and ran towards them.
And I don't remember being hit. I think he thought he had killed me.
During the assault, she had to go through much more than just getting knocked out. But what really happened that night would only be revealed years later, during her attacker's trial. When she eventually woke up, her boyfriend wasn't responsive at all. Holly had to leave him there and went to look for help.
Whoa.
I was definitely knocked out, but I somehow, at some point, got up to get help. All I could think was go get help.
What happened to the boyfriend? Don't tell me the train hit him.
About 2:45 in the morning, we received a call for a female that had been injured.
Behind the phone is Chad Getz, another student. He was studying late until a woman covered in blood broke into his house.
The screen door was closed. I opened the screen door and walked into this person's house.
I was sitting in my chair studying, and out of the corner of my eye I just glimpsed something. Her face, it looked like a boxer whenever they get cut during a boxing match. I thought she was going to die. There was no doubt in my mind.
Despite her broken jaw, Holly was still able to speak. After laying down, she told him that her boyfriend was still down by the tracks.
And I did keep saying to him, my friend's still out there. Be sure they know my friend's still out there. My friend's still out there.
Soon after Chad made the call, the police and paramedics arrived.
Yo, thank God that kid was in the house when, you know, when she approached and just got in there. Because if nobody would have been there, it could have been, whoo, she probably could have lost her life right there.
Up on Holly.
When we walked through the front door, I remember seeing a lot of dry blood on her face and in her hair. Had some deformity to her jaw.
Damn, what the hell she got hit
Found
with?
a puncture wound, I believe, on her neck. She was able to tell us her name was Holly and that she'd been beaten, and she told us she was hurting.
She gave the paramedics more details about what happened to her and asked them to leave her and go look for Chris instead.
She told us that her friend was down the tracks. One of the paramedics that I was with said he would go down there with the police. to find this person. The third paramedic came back. He confirmed to us that there was a body down there that had been hit in the head with a rock.
Damn.
It was viable for us to call for another ambulance to transport him to the hospital. But he whispered it to me so not to let the girl know what he had found. So we didn't want to make her situation any worse than it already was.
At the hospital, Holly kept asking her family about Chris.
Everyone was told not to talk to me. I just said, Chris is dead, isn't he? And
yeah, I wonder if it like if it was supposed to just play out like that, if this man was just like, you know, targeting women, or she just happened to be with her boyfriend, so he said, man, look, might as well both of them be gone. You know, I wonder if that was the case.
My dad actually is the one that I said that to, and he was like, yes, he died.
He was charming and so sweet and kind. He was just a great guy. When Chris died, I think I didn't understand.
She probably felt like it was her fault
and why he wasn't.
And this wasn't the only shocking revelation she had to deal with that night, since the police immediately linked the case to more murders.
At that point, 4 people had been murdered and I was the only survivor.
The realization that not only Chris died, but also more people came crashing down as the survivors.
Damn, so he went to Lexington, did 1, and 10th, basically. Houston 2. Waymar, 3 murders.
She felt was unbearable.
I started to feel it more as more and more people were being killed. It grew bigger.
Oh, so he was just...
all these people were dying by this person.
He was just plotting by the railroad. That's why he got the name.
Why did I live through it?
As he kept killing more and more people, investigators started to lose hope.
He would not stop, and his mode of transportation using the railroads was brilliant because they couldn't be monitored. I mean, there's thousands of trains and millions of miles
ain't nobody
of
gonna
tracks
go
all
back
over the
there.
United States.
Devin Anderson, the state prosecutor, discovered that he was a train hopper with multiple aliases.
If you're willing to sleep in a train and you're willing to sleep in a field, or you can stay lost for a long time, and I did not think we were ever going to catch him.
On the verge of death at the hospital, Holly still wanted to help investigators, and to their surprise, she ended up being extremely helpful to the case. Even if she was weakened by her injuries, she took mental notes of everything she could remember
to the neck.
her attack.
She's lucky to be here.
I mean, I was doing things during the attack thinking, I'm gonna burn your face into my memory. I'm going to remember every tattoo you have, every scar you have. I'm gonna look on every part of your body and I'm gonna know everything about you. Because if I survive this, I'm gonna get you.
Despite being disfigured and heavily injured, she survived, but it would take a while before she got a chance to call him out. After 3 years and 9 more victims, the FBI
he is Rafael Resendez,
a criminal from Puebla, Mexico, who recently got caught crossing the US border. The only reason they were able to catch him was because of the tattoos and scars descriptions given by Holly years earlier. The sketches and general descriptions had been useless so far, since he was always changing his appearance after killing someone. Now that they knew his identity,
he
they
was
got
smart.
his sister to persuade him to turn himself in exchange for a psychological evaluation. But what they didn't know was that he was already planning his defense.
Insanity was the logical defense because no one wants to...
Bro, that's crazy. You did all this. I mean, thank God he listened to his sister, the fact that he turned himself in, but him plotting the insanity card. Listen, bro, if you a serial killer, you ain't gonna get no type of mental health pass, or yeah, the reason why you did this was because something is wrong with you, we're gonna let you out there. Hell no, you're gonna do this to other people. These are the type of people that you gotta, listen, lock them up and throw away the key forever. They can't see the day of the light ever, because this is something that's in them. They're gonna continue doing it because, you know, that they get off from doing stuff like this.
That there's someone out there that will do things like that. That was the thing that worried me the most about the case, was that jurors would just throw up their hands and say, nobody in their right mind could do what he does.
Mr. Resendez, would you please rise?
As Holly heard the news about her attacker's arrest, her traumatizing memories came flooding back.
I mean, it was a relief for me. I mean, I was
This dude is a weirdo.
still very scared.
You know what I always find crazy, and obviously, I mean, everybody got their own job to do or whatever the case may be, but how can a lawyer really defend like somebody, you know, committing these type of crimes? Like, I don't know how you can even sleep at night knowing that you're trying to defend this person to either free them or give them less time after they, you know, hurt so many people and did all these gruesome crimes.
Really meant, I think, when he surrendered, that I knew that I was going to face him again.
After years of pursuit, Prosecutor Anderson finally got to see the man she so far only knew as the railroad killer.
You could feel he was dangerous. He was a dangerous person. He looked like a wild animal who had been caught.
As Anderson guessed, his defense team planned an insanity defense. If successful, Resendez could be put in an institution and eventually even released into the world. But the prosecutor still had one last trick up her sleeve.
I flew into Houston with my family the night before I was going to testify, and I woke up during the middle of the night screaming and crying. What I was most worried about, I think, when I testified was seeing
they probably was gonna leave her in that cut just to make sure they sealed the deal.
Took a minute to talk to the panicked Holly.
I went back there and said, okay, are you ready? And she said, yep. And I said, he's gonna be in there looking at you. Don't look at him, just look at me. Don't look at him until I ask you to.
She took a second to give her a hug and pointed her towards the doors.
I cannot imagine the amount of courage she had to marshal to come into that courtroom, to walk in and face him.
She chose to present Holly as the last testimony of the trial. As the sole survivor, she was her only hope to convince the jury.
We're going to tell you about the people. The people who've been murdered, most of whom murdered in their own homes.
I knew that I wanted Holly to testify last, so by the time
I knew it was going to go like that.
The jury had heard the gruesome details of all the other murders that we had solved at that point.
Just to solidify.
When I went into the courtroom, I sat down in the chair to testify. I did not look at him. I was looking straight at Devin.
As an opener, Anderson asked her a very unusual question. What did you do last weekend? But behind that question was an opportunity to empower her and show to Resendez that she was stronger than him.
I was really excited to say, I graduated from college. To me, I was saying to him, you didn't destroy me.
Yeah.
Finally, Holly was allowed to share her story publicly, as beforehand, it had to be kept secret for the investigation.
Then I went into the details of that night.
After explaining that Resendez first asked for money before forcing them to kneel down in front of him, Holly went to explain the actual assault. Be warned that the following segment may be disturbing to some people.
He made Chris get down on his knees and started going through Chris's backpack. I thought he was looking for money. But really what he was doing was tying up Chris's hands behind his back with his backpack. At that point, with the weapon in his hand, he took off my belt and he tied my hands behind my back with my belt. He pulled Chris into the grass beside the tracks.
With Resendez's attention focused on Chris, Holly could have ran at any moment.
I was not gonna leave Chris. I remember him ripping a shirt and he tied up my legs, he tied up Chris's legs, and then he made gags for us.
Chris had said, run if you can, and I couldn't get my legs untied, so I couldn't run. I don't know how much time.
Man, that says a lot about him. The fact that, you know, for him to just be like, man, whatever happens to me, happens to me. If you could save yourself, just go for it, man. That says a lot about a person. In a situation like this, that says a lot about him, man. Rest in peace to that man.
Between that time and when our attacker came with the rock.
It was like so heavy.
And he probably smashed it in his head.
Kind of hold it like a baby. And I just remember him coming over to Chris and he just dropped it on his head. And it was like a dream. I mean, I didn't really understand what was happening.
Whoa.
In her confusion, she heard a loud noise, a sound she had never heard before.
What I heard was actually a death rattle. It was his last breath. That's what I heard.
After the murder, he turned his eyes towards Holly, and from the way he was looking at her, she knew he had something else other than murder on his mind, but she was determined to fight him.
And then he climbed on top of me, and I knew at that moment he was going to rape me. I tried to kick him, I tried to punch him, and he stabbed me in my neck, and he said, "Look how easily I could kill you."
And this is the moment it happened. Out of respect for Holly and the other victims of Resendez, we won't be covering much of the assault past this.
Damn, multiple sexual assaults, 15 confirmed murders, 1 attempt capital murder, Total estimated victims 23, 1 survivor.
But note that afterward, Resendez tried to kill her.
My mind completely blacked out.
He hit me hard. He was trying to kill me. I laid there and he thought I was dead. I
want to hear his reasons for all of this, to be honest.
I don't even know what just happened.
With this last statement, Holly finished her testimony. The entire courtroom was filled with a mix of disgust, disbelief, and sadness. And at that moment, Anderson looked straight into Holly's eyes.
I felt so proud of her for doing it. And she cried. I mean, she was very, emotional.
Yeah, I would imagine she's traumatized.
The jurors were crying. Devin was crying.
It was the moment I had been waiting for in the trial because I wanted a victim of his to face him down because no one else could.
She got that W at the end of the day.
As she went on to ask her last question to Holly, the question that would finally put an end to the railroad killer's rampage. To her, everything else had been building up to this moment. Anderson asked, "Can you please identify the accused? What is he wearing?"
And so at this moment, I
that gotta be the toughest one right there.
So I look at him and I, point to him and I say, he's wearing a white button-down shirt.
I have never felt such relief in my entire life, and I probably never will. Just thank God. And it was a great moment. It's a great moment because she got to call him out for all those other people sitting in the courtroom and for all those other people who were dead.
Man, she was meant to survive. That was God right there. That was his way of just making sure that man, never see the day, another day, man, because I know for sure if she would have never survived that, things could have went a different way. They probably would have let him go. His insanity case, his charge would have probably worked. And those, 23 people that he killed from before, that would have just been like it never happened, So it was a blessing that she survived that because, she was there. She was the voice for all of them.
She got to call him out. It was great.
And as I'm saying that, I feel my hearing going into my head. I get really hot and I feel like I'm about to faint.
Even though it was a cathartic moment for Holly, one can only handle that much.
I saw him and he had basically a emotionless face. I broke down at that point and they had to
He probably didn't care.
I was so emotionally destroyed. I mean, I couldn't give any more than I gave during that trial.
After Holly was carried outside of the courtroom, Anderson addressed the jurors one last time before they finally gave their verdict.
There is something wrong with him, but does it make him any less morally responsible? No.
The jury did find that he was a future danger to society,
Definitely
so the judge
is.
sentenced him to death.
Woo!
One surprising fact is how fast Holly landed back on her feet. Way before the execution, even before the trial itself, she was already trying to help other victims.
I started speaking about 2 years after the attack.
He said, "Look how easily I could kill you."
To me, it felt like part of my healing process.
Nah,
to
she's
talk
brave.
about it
They
and to
even
cry
talk
about
about it, you
and
gotta
to be
relive that
emotional,
moment every single
because
time.
for so long, I had to kind of detach emotion from it.
The way that I went on with my life was I had to forgive him and look for the good that could come from this.
When I was speaking, I didn't have to worry about that. I could work through my emotions, and that really helped me in my healing process. Being a survivor is one thing, but helping other survivors and knowing how to do that in a professional manner was another thing.
And she isn't using the word professional lightly. She literally turned her entire life around with the urge she felt to help other survivors. This is why she decided to found her own advocacy center for victims of violent crimes. They opened in 2008 and have already served justice to more than 300 survivors.
Holly is a hero because she did not let
That's
what happened
big
to
right
her
there.
destroy her. She decided to make it her reason to live, or her reason to help people.
And even if her work today is very impressive, her internal journey was even more so. She ended up redefining herself. No more was she a victim. She was now a survivor.
A survivor is someone who gets up each day and lives their life and can choose happiness, can choose to smile. I think that that's a survivor. You don't have to be a person who goes out and does public speaking or writes a book. You get up each day and you put your 2 feet on the ground and you choose to do something. It's that simple.
He attempted to destroy her, but she's the one who came up on top. Today, she wants her story to be heard. For all the voiceless survivors out there, she wants them to know that they survived for a reason.
I survived because I wasn't done. I survived to...
She has a purpose.
Do something.
Yeah, this is the end of the video right here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Man, it's just amazing the fact that she didn't let that situation define her, although she went through like a traumatic experience and her friend ended up dying in the situation when she survived. And I know, you know, for many people, they will probably, you know, put the blame on themselves when things like that happen, you know, just like survivor's guilt. But, you know, it's good to see that she moved on to better things and she didn't let that, you know, just define her whole life. She has kids, or organization that she created, you know, just helping like other survivors. So it's good to see that she came out on top at the end of the day. So that's always beautiful to see. But let me know what your thoughts in the comments. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, and to the next one. I'm out of here.